Broadcasting live from the mothership, you are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host Jonah Bolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, what's up, Spaceship Earth? Thanks for tuning in. You are now receiving a live transmission from Starseed Radio, where you could always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Today is Tuesday, December 8th, 2015. I am your host, Jonah Bolt, the Octorian Starseed. It is another cloudy, rainy day here in South Florida. And I think it's been that way since I got back from the beautiful Virgin Islands. It was a little cloudy there, but we did get some sunny days. So a shout out to the big Virgin Islands and, of course, me, Dad, hanging out on St. John. With that, we're going to get the show started. Lots of news and stuff to cover. Last week was insane with the news and what has been happening all around the world. We're going to go into several different big stories. We're going to talk about the California shooting spree. We're going to talk about Turkey and Russia and a few other main articles and interesting news, I should say, to the least, that's happening around the world. We're going to talk about. We're going to be joined by our guest, who is all the way in Australia, Mr. David Love, who also has his own radio show, Universal Soul Love, with Dr. Lana Love. So he'll be joining us in just a minute. With that, first, give a shout out to StarseedRadio.com, where you could always find the latest news and updates. We're always posting up new articles up there. We have a couple Twitter feeds and some other things up there, space weather, things like that, to stay alert on what's happening in your world today. Also, check out StarseedTechnologies.com. That's another site of ours where we have some amazing new technologies in water recycling, power, off-grid, tons of stuff on there. And if you want some free energy information, fill out the form on the left-hand side, and we'll send you about 15 PDF files of free energy information. As well, if you haven't received your free piece of Elite Shungite, we're still sending Shungite out. Contact us at toll-free 888-400-2328. Again, that number is 888-400-2328. You can call anytime, 24/7. Leave us a voicemail if someone does not get back to you. With that, we're going to get the show started with our daily quote. Before I do that, that's right, I got one more website to give out. Check out Starseed Gold. This is an amazing new, not just a gold saving exchange system, but what this company is doing is really breaking the psyche of what most of us have been programmed with, which is fiat currency, and getting us back onto a gold exchange and bartering system. Check out starseedgold.com. You can sign up for a free gold savings account or contact me directly. My information is right there on the homepage. Again, that's starseedgold.com. You could start saving in gold today, or become an affiliate and also spread the gold, 99.99 bullion pure gold, the purest gold on the planet, all the way from the supernovas. If you did not know, gold comes from the stars. That's right. Gold actually showered the planet, has showered the planet over the billions of years. Gold actually comes from exploding supernovas. So a fun fact for you for today, if you did not know that. With that, we're going to mention our daily quote. Again, that website is starseedgold.com. If you think I'm a smartass, you should meet my spirit guides. I like that quote. I'll post that one up. That one quote is by, looks like an anonymous quote. I can't see who the signature is, but if you think I'm a smartass, you should meet my spirit guides. I'll post that quote up on starseedradio.com. With that, we're going to get started with the show and giving you some of the latest news and updates, and joined by our guest all the way in down under Australia. We'll welcome David to the show. David, how are you today?
Hi, Jonah. How are you?
I'm doing good. You probably had it on mute, right?
I did, yeah. Jumping right in. I was checking up on the news and a couple of news items you sent me, and just familiarizing myself with what's going on. I've been really busy lately with so many things, but you just caught me at the right moment, just preparing for tomorrow's show on Universal Soul Love. So
Excellent.
Always happy to come on your show. You have a great show. One of the first I was on with internet radio, so with you on years ago. So I'm always happy to be your special guest, and had you on our show a couple times too. So
Absolutely.
thanks for having me on again.
Sure, that's the best way is to collaborate with each other and speak to each other and share information, because it is a really information war. Alex Jones says that best. It's an info war, and it really is. When people really get down to it, there's a lot of stories happening. There's a lot of stuff going on, but depending on what outlet and who you're getting your news from depends on how they spin the story. And we see that with the buildup in Russia and Turkey, and how U.S. news outlets are reporting it, how different news outlets are reporting, always sort of spinning the story depending on where you get your news sources from. So one of the big main stories that's here in the U.S. is this big terrorist attack, is what they're calling it, out in California. I believe they killed 14 people, wounded 17. I heard 21. Somewhere around that, and you see how quickly the U.S. and all the media outlets are just focusing on that now without really investigating too much. Now, Obama himself was on the Oval Office on the TV doing a live conference on Sunday, and already within a week you see how quickly they move with having the shooters and having this, having that, and then Obama's on and just pushing the agenda very, very quickly. When you really look at the evidence and a lot of the eyewitnesses, you have a ton of discrepancies. Now, I posted 9 articles up last night. There are literally dozens and dozens of different alternative media news outlets that are reporting all the different inconsistencies with this story, and there are many. All the main eyewitnesses, if you really actually look, all reported 3 white males of all athletic build that were the shooters. And this came from multiple eyewitnesses, not just 1 or 2, multiple. I posted up 5 of them myself on articles on my Facebook and Twitter feed, so check that. This guy's wife, who they're blaming for the terrorist attack, was 90 pounds, definitely not athletic build or a white male. There's lots of inconsistencies. Even the assault rifles they recovered were traced back to law enforcement. Within 48 hours, I was watching this live on TV with my stepfather. They had the news going through their house, their apartment. I don't know if you saw that, David, but CNN and Fox News were literally inside their house filming. They said the landlord invited them inside. So you're talking less than 48 hours after the attack, the FBI and CIA just leaves the crime scene, so to say, which was their supposed apartment for the terrorists, and now the press is walking around. Oh, and they just happen to leave a passport laying there. If you look at the CNN footage, like, give me a break. You think the real FBI is going to leave one of the quote unquote terrorist passports in the apartment so CNN and them could come in? And I mean, it's a total staged event. It's just Go ahead, Dave.
This was my job. I mean, this was my exact job for 20 years. 50% of my work was criminal defense investigation, and the majority of it was going out and interviewing victims and witnesses and taking statements and testifying to it in court. Exactly what you just said. What did you see? And, we'd have a number of witnesses. And yeah, I'm very familiar with that process, with the investigative process when it comes to interviewing and taking statements.
This is part of why I have you on the show, David. Let me ask you a question. Within 48 hours of a crime like this, the largest terrorist attack since 9/11, does it make any sense that any news outlets would be allowed at the crime scene of their apartment to take pictures and footage and actually walk through their apartment and pick up their clothes and look at their passport on the table?
No, that's called contamination of evidence. No, I don't think you do that. I don't think so. I mean, I didn't do crime scene investigation, but I would call that contamination of evidence. And if I were the defense lawyer, I would bring that up in court.
Actually, the lawyer from the family has gone public last week and actually said himself that this story is filled with holes and inconsistencies, and he even referenced Sandy Hook, which was also a staged false flag attack. Sandy Hook was not even up and running, the school itself, at the time of the attacks. The school had been closed for at least a year before that attack happened. So again, lots of inconsistencies, and when you talk about the crime scene, like you just mentioned, tampering of evidence, they definitely wouldn't leave one of their passports, as well, sitting in the house. All that stuff is evidence in a case, especially their passports. I mean, especially
that's a very odd thing to leave behind. I mean, criminals do stupid things sometimes, but
And I was even watching this unfold live when they were chasing the suspects. And if you look at a lot of the pictures being circulated now, there's actually two different crime scenes. There's one that I saw live on TV, and I posted this video up. It's from one of the choppers, where they're actually chasing a white truck. And they have zoomed in footage, and then they went back to the black truck. Their initial reports was all three. There was three suspects. Now, after the first 48 hours, you don't hear any mainstream news outlets here in the U.S. mention anything about a third suspect. It's his guy, it's his wife, these are the terrorists, these are the guys that did it, blah, blah, blah. That they did find deposits of money in their account, but it could be very easily as, so what, these people were radicalized. An informant went in and said, hey, we're going to pay you $30,000 or $100,000. All you guys got to do is X, Y, and Z. And then, boom, they get set up. They get gunned down and hail of bullets. They don't even know really what's going on. This guy leaves work. He goes home, picks up the kid. Next thing you know, they're set up. If you look at the Paris attacks, too, and I've seen some of the video, look at the video when the cops are shooting the quote-unquote terrorists that were holding hostages or whatever. Their hands were tied. I mean, I've seen it in slow-mo. So you really just question everything is what I'm saying. We're bringing this up.
You certainly do. You do question everything. That's exactly what you do. You question everything, and you even question your own thoughts about what you're having about the situation, for that matter, and your own beliefs about what you think might be happening, just to double check, because it's never what you think it is. And I've had cooperated on some cases with some three-letter agencies, including the FBI, and I know that they're very committed to the government. They're professionals. They used techniques similar to ones that I've used, and they've had training similar to what I've had, and I don't, know what their agendas are, but police detectives would always say, stay away from the FBI, and they were right. I got a taste of that a long time ago, but private investigators used to say the same thing. But I don't know, this Paris attack and these things that are happening. I'm questioning what this is all about. I mean, I think I know, but I think that I know that religion has been the biggest manipulation of humanity outside of materialism. So it's what's kept us enslaved. It's easy to brainwash people. It's easy to say, kill for your God. You're going to heaven. Your reward is in heaven. So it's old, and it's a technique that's always worked, and that's why they continue to use it. You just keep using whatever works, to keep people enslaved, and it's a brainwashing technique, and it's brilliant, and they will keep using it until we wisen up. These are paid mercenaries, as far as I can tell. So I just saw a news article where it said they're being funded by so many different nations. I don't know who's funneling in the weapons and the money and whatnot, but clearly there's a lot more going on here, and there's a bigger agenda than what we could understand at the moment. Anyhow, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
The intelligence communities and the militaries of the world are in their glory right now. There must be so many covert and special operations going on, even bigger than during World War II. So.
It's insane, and we're going to go into a little bit about Turkey and Russia after the commercial break, because it's going nuts over there too. And I just want people really to check this stuff out. I posted this up on Facebook. I'll post it up on Twitter. All of these different eyewitnesses, and as well as the different news sources. The San Bernardino shooting, all the classic hallmarks of a false flag. That article from investmentwatchblog.com. Then you have the San Bernardino media hoax, CNN media, victim's families all ransacked the suspect's family home. The fake FBI crime scene, which is what we just talked about. That one came from memorywholeblog.com. The Farouk family lawyer suggests the San Bernardino attack was faked along with Sandy Hook. That's from blacklistednews.com. Here's another one. San Bernardino shooting, an attorney separate from the family attorney, says a lot of things don't add up. That's Investment Watch blog. You have California shooting, another U.S. false flag, from an analyst. That one's from Press TV. Now, these news sources are not, the Mujahideen, Allah Akbar, .com news sources. These are coming from, here's another one. Yikes, United Nations, the U.S. federal government and Canadian government all reading about the 3 tall athletic white men in military attire who shot up San Bernardino. That one's on libertyfight.com. California shooting, another U.S. false flag, Press TV. You have shock video. San Bernardino terrorist gun battle with cops. That video is crazy. If you look at the actual live footage that they took, 2 totally separate cars, for one, not what they've been showing. Witnesses to San Bernardino this massacre describe shooters as 3 white men. Another one, that one's from libertyfight.com. And then I have about 20 other links and sources under that to back all that up. I mean, just, dig a little bit deeper. And we're doing this just to expose the truth of what people really need to see, is that things like this happen all the time. So just take a few minutes and do your due diligence and check this stuff out, because don't just write it off.
Yeah, that was my job, was to do the due diligence, do the investigation, and find the holes and the inconsistencies in people's stories and expose them. And so that's I hear what you're saying. That's exactly what you do in life. Everybody seems to have a hidden agenda. There's no such thing as sides. There's just self-interest, usually, with human beings in general. And I hate to be sort of cynical like that, but that's been my experience. So you do have to be careful and know who you're dealing with and the situations, and not take things at face value.
Absolutely. You got to ask questions, especially in the time where information is so key. Look at like the Libya, thing a few years back, where, our news was like, oh, look, Gaddafi is using fighter jets on his protesters and all this, and and Hillary's like, oh, we bombed the whole country and we didn't kill any civilians, and just lies, just total BS. And when you look at the other side of it, what we did is just stabilize it. That was one of the 7 countries that the general spoke out about in 2000, right after 9/11, 2001, about we're going into 7 Middle Eastern countries. He's on YouTube. He's a whistleblower. He came forward and said he was handed a list after 9/11 within 10 days that we're going to 7 countries, Libya being one of them, Syria, Pakistan, Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran. We've gone to basically all 7 except for 1, Iran. So, look at the proof. That's the proof. You have a very high-class general coming out, whistleblowing, saying we're going into these Middle Eastern countries. We don't know why, but there's a set agenda. And that is part of why we're going over this story. Not that I ever want to feed this story or give it any more attention, but just be aware of what it really is. To me, it's total just BS. I mean, they're not even talking about the 3rd shooter in the news. They're not even going into this. They're just running with it. Obama's in the Oval Office. This guy's already guilty. These guys did this. These guys did that. And they just run with the story. They're often running with the story without looking at the evidence. It's just out of control, because all the evidence from what other people are looking into is showing inconsistencies from analysts, from lawyers, from the family's lawyers, from eyewitnesses. Even a congressman in Florida has spoken out saying that she got her inside source, and also said that those guns traced back to law enforcement, those AR-15s that they used. I mean, come on. Do you really think the FBI would let people in their apartment and leave a passport behind so CNN and film crews can film it laying on the table? I mean, it's like finding the passport at 9/11, like they found one of the terrorists' passport in the rubble.
Why would anybody bring a passport to when they commit a crime anyhow?
No, this was at their house. They left their passport at their house. And you could see in the CNN video, they're like, in Fox News, they're all rummaging through, picking up their clothes. Oh, here's one of Sharik Faroud's or whatever clothes, and here's one of, come on. That thing would be roped off for weeks. They'd be doing forensic. I mean, even the show The First 48, they spend more time, in people's apartments, roping it up. Yeah, dusting things and taking prints and building a case. Not here.
I know from experience, it's law enforcement can spend years and multi-millions of dollars building up evidence for a major case, and it's easy for the defense to start knocking it down by poking holes in chain of custody of DNA and forensic evidence and tampering with evidence and whatnot. And it's very simple to do that because the standard is beyond a reasonable doubt. And if there's that tiny bit of doubt, you really have to. So they're usually not that sloppy. They usually try to be very careful about that sort of thing. So that would surprise.
Yeah, but you know what, David? It's like people are so blind here. They're just Americans, and like I'm saying this lightly. Americans really are the stupidest. They really are. I say that because they're so filled and materialistic and just so like we're better than, and this is America, we're the greatest country. We are far from the greatest country on the planet anymore. Maybe we once were, we're not anymore. And I just posted up an amazing clip that talked a little bit about that, how we're fourth in this. The only three things that we are number one in is the most incarcerated people on the planet. We spend the most money in defense, even though the top 24 other countries combined still don't match up how much money we spend in defense, and they're all our allies. And third, we're the country where we have the most people that believe angels are real. That's it. That's all we're number one for. When you talk about birth rate, employment rate, economy, this, that, we are slacking. We are far from the number one. Sad to say, but the country, the policies have been hijacked. I believe ever since JFK and probably even before that, it's been hijacked. And people need to wake up to that reality.
It's strange that after, we came to the New World in America after only not less than 200 years ago, a little more than, and just a short period of time. I mean, we wrote that Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, and I don't know how society just sort of disintegrated so quickly. How that, it's
and our founding fathers warned us.
Star.
They warned us. A statement from George Washington said, "My greatest fear is a divided system, is having a two-party system." Well, that happened about 8 years later. Republicans and Democrats, which George Washington said is his greatest fear is once founding this country is to have a divide, and that's exactly what happened. Other quotes are about the banksters. Lincoln, many of the early presidents warned about this stuff. Do not let the bankers, IMF, things like that into the system. Once you let the bankers in, it's totally... They knew it because the Rothschilds had started banks hundreds of years earlier all over Europe. They're used to that, which is why they came here to get out of the tyranny and the taxation of the bankers. So when they made the Declaration of Independence and they wrote that, they warned us, but in many different levels. But nowadays, it's just people are so poisoned. They're being poisoned. You can't hate on the people. They're being fluoridated, chemtrailed.
Yes, that's all true.
Poison.
I saw something shocking the other day, and I haven't known about chemtrails for that long, maybe less than a year, I guess. Maybe I was a bit naive or just didn't pay attention or whatever, or research it. But I saw the other day where they were leading scientists were talking about solutions for geoengineering, for climate change. And they said in desperate measures, they could use geoengineering, sulfur or whatever, more chemtrails to solve the problem. They could create a problem to solve the problem, which makes a bigger problem. It's like they likened it to giving chemotherapy to a terminally ill patient, our planet. And I think that's just another hidden agenda to use more geoengineering. So here it is, we're using chemtrails. This is what we're doing. We've been doing it. And in fact, we're going to use chemtrails to save the planet from climate change.
They've been using chemtrails since the 60s. It's like this is... It's old news, but still, like you said, people are so blind to it. I still, when I talk to people about that, still don't believe, a lot of people, that's just the condensation from the plane. Those are contrails. It's
I always thought so too, but they're very clear that this is what they're doing.
And you could tell right away, those contrails, they expand, they stay in the sky, they fog up the whole sky. Within a few hours, they could lay lines and cover whole sky. I've seen it done. I've been outside up in Asheville. I've been outside during spring where I've gotten sick before. I got so sick once I couldn't do my radio show. So I've experienced it firsthand where I've been outside playing with my dog in a park, being sprayed on, getting sick. I felt like I was given like trazodone or some sort of Seroquel or some sort of, some sort of medicine. I remember calling my family and I was like drugged. I was like, oh, I felt so drugged and sick just from being outside from these chemtrails. So they're getting people sick. The pharmaceutical companies have a big part in that. They're selling people drugs. Everyone's sick, and you see the commercials in America. Every other commercial is, for some sort of medication to help you get over whatever you think you have. It's just out of control. It's that's what they sell. So the propaganda that's happening is open your eyes and check the information. Don't turn off mainstream media. Look at alternative media. Look at naturalnews.com, whatreallyhappened.com, Investment Blog Watch. I can go on and on and on, but there's so many alternative news outlets. Even at starseedradio.com, go in the news section. I have like 20 or 30 different news sites listed. Open up your eyes. And that's really why we're talking about this, is to help you open up and take in that, yes, this is a big charade, it's a big game, and that's okay. It's part of Spaceship Earth. It's like, but be aware of it, don't ignore it. If you ignore it, it's consent. And consent, you can still be found guilty in the court of law. So don't ignore the problem, be aware of it. And it's okay to be vocal and speak truth about it, because that's the only way it's going to stop, is once enough people expose it. And we know we're already being censored, David. I posted this stuff up on the stuff on Facebook yesterday. No one even saw the article. It's like hidden from my Facebook, friends. So hang on right there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, I'm going to talk about Russia and Turkey and what's happening over there. I know what's going on. So hang on right there with David Love out of Australia. You're listening to Starseed Radio.
Thomas Jefferson at hemp fields. Let me tell you all the things organically grown hemp yields. Jack Herring tried to
Enemy Within Radio with Tom Barnes. Saturday on Truth Frequency Radio.
The greatest form of control is where you think you're free when you're being fundamentally manipulated and dictated. One form of dictatorship is being in a prison cell and you can see the bars and touch it. The other one is sitting in a prison cell but you can't see the bar, you think you're free. What the human race is suffering from is mass hypnosis. We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit what happened to the home of the brave.
All right, welcome back to the show. That was a clip from David Icke, spoken so well, talking about the sheeple of the world that are blind by what's going on. And we are talking to the people of the world that have a little inkling of opening up their minds and checking into stories of what you're told. Don't believe anything of what you're told. You must always do your due diligence and check this stuff out for yourself. So with that, we're going to jump into another big article, big story that's happening around the world. And this one is talking about what's happening over in Syria. Russia, Iraq, now Turkey's involved, and this is really a big story. We've been talking about this, but it's not being talked about on too much of mainstream at all. I'm back here in the States in Boca Raton, Florida, and they have the Fox News and CNN, which I do not watch anywhere else but when I'm here, and only because it's what's on TV. But when you look at the other alternative media outlets that are all covering this story, you also can imagine why they're focusing so much on the California quote-unquote terrorist attacks. Even though all the eyewitnesses and people, all the inconsistencies, it doesn't matter. They're running with the story. It was Shahrukh Fareed and his 90-pound, wife that dressed up, as basically militants with AR-15s, and you're going to tell me that him and her, went in there, and now they just announced yesterday, oh, they went to target practice. I mean, these people could have easily been set up. These, it's that simple, really, if you look at it. These people had probably no clue the extent of what was really going on, and if anything, were set up. They don't match the eyewitnesses. The weapons were traced back to law enforcement. There's just so many inconsistencies. It's unbelievable. But anyways, they're running with that story for a reason, because the bigger story, I believe, David, is what's happening over in Syria. And what's happening over there has been escalating for years now. We're talking about, going into Iraq, into Afghanistan, and all these other countries. It's just, out of control. So we could talk a little bit about the actual what's happening over there in Syria. When you talk about the proxy war that's happening with really the U.S. and Russia. Now, I know what's going on over there with, the U.S. funded training started ISIS, and now ISIS was, going into Syria, and ISIS basically took over almost all of Syria except for the capital, Damascus, and that's where Assad has been sort of his stronghold. Now, it's the total opposite. Now, the ISIS troops only have one stronghold, and basically once they recapture that city, ISIS is pretty much done. Russia stepped in, pretty much obliterated everything. They bombed all the fuel trucks, the oil factories, everything. They're wiping everything out, which the U.S. could have done too, but we didn't. We allowed them to steal the oil. We've allowed them to take it. We have just as much surveillance as Russia. We've been watching this happen the whole time. Oh, I wonder why. Oh, because NATO's part of Turkey. Turkey's buying the oil. Israel's buying the oil. A lot of countries are buying the stolen oil, part of NATO. So it's a much bigger plan. Again, people really need to check into this story, because this is a story that can set us off into World War III. Not where we want to go, but pay attention, because it's escalating. And now Turkey sent troops and tanks into Iraq. So we had last week, or a couple weeks ago, Turkey shoots down a Russian fighter jet, and they says, oh, you're in our airspace, but we know that's not true, because Russia put out the reports that shows that it was not out there, and other reports came out that U.S. intelligence was used to help Turkey tell them where the aircraft was in their airspace. Now, Turkey itself has flown over in Greece 2,400 times, and Greece invaded their airspace, but they were not shot down. Greece didn't shoot down Turkey's jets, but yes, Turkey says that they shot down a military jet for entering their airspace, but 2,400 times later, Greece didn't shoot down Turkey, and now Turkey, because of invading their airspace, shoots them down, now sends tanks and troops into Iraq. So they're shooting people down for, quote-unquote, invading their airspace, but then they're invading Iraq's space by sending ground troops in. So it's unbelievable.
It's almost comical to me.
It is.
It's not comical because people are getting bombed, hundreds of bombs dropped on them every day, and it's actually awful. But I
David,
saw...
why are you laughing when you say that, David?
What's that?
Why'd you laugh when you said that?
I just...
Just kidding.
I don't know. It's not. It's
you
awful.
gotta laugh at uncomfortability, because
the whole idea of it is absurd, and it's almost comical that this is happening. I mean, I saw some. There was a television show, public broadcast, public hearing the other day. There was some men. I think they were from the intelligence community here. Not sure which one, but. They had their panel, and they were talking about nuclear weapons in Iraq, and they were talking about conspiracy theorists, and mentioned someone's name in a book, and I think it was Alan Dershowitz or someone, and he said, well, we don't want to start a war in the Middle East over possible nuclear weapons in Iraq, and Iran or Iraq or whatever, and I was thinking... Are you telling me there's not already a war in the Middle East? Where is there not a war in the Middle East? What country in the Middle East is not at war right now?
Yeah, exactly.
I believe I heard that from these people. Let's just get a reality check. There's a major war going on right now, and it's been going on, and it's been underway for quite a while.
That's right.
And it's been escalating, and it's well underway.
We've been doing drone strikes, in Yemen, Somalia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria. The list goes on and on. Lebanon. I mean, it's out of control. There's we have military bases in 150 countries around the world. The U.S. has U.S. military bases in 150 different countries. For what? I'm not really sure, but that's a fact. So I saw in the news, or I was passing through the kitchen, I saw in the news that they said, we're losing the country. America's losing the war. It's like, losing the war? We have military bases in 80% of the world's countries. What are we losing? I think if anything, we're winning the war if you have military bases. Now, if you look at Russia's military bases too, and I've seen that on a map, just go to Google and Google Russia military bases. You see how many military bases they have in mostly all the countries we don't have in, which is like you have like Cuba and Venezuela and other things like that. So, Russia is gearing up too. They have a very big stronghold in a lot of countries, and so does China. Don't forget 1.35 billion people China has, 5 times the population of the U.S. And
very formidable.
That's right, and they've been beefing up their military. They have aircraft carriers, all sorts of stuff too. So again, we don't want to harp on this stuff. We don't want to feed energy to it, but we need to be aware of it, because if things pop off and things go nuclear and go World War III, then people are going to be shell-shocked, and a lot of people aren't going to know how to react and handle things. So we're trying to, let people know this is a possibility. So prepare yourself mentally, physically, do what you got to do.
If you don't mind me saying, this is a bit metaphysical, of course, because I do study metaphysics. I call myself a mystic. I've written books on it. Just my thing. But I know I've mentioned this to you before, and I guess I don't mind bringing this up. The fact that you and I collaborate, and we do work together quite often, and we're guests on each other's shows, and we're working on various projects, and we speak throughout the week from time to time. I know that I have lived this life before as an alternate life or an alternate reality, and I have seen that other timeline that I lived in, and you and I lived in that timeline. I do believe this, and this is just my thing, my own knowledge, may or may not be true, but nonetheless, I saw this potential future, and we're going down this same path, and that life that I saw, there were bombs exploding everywhere. You were there. And we fought valiantly, and you orchestrated militia groups and organizations all around the world, and we got obliterated. And I saw those bombs exploding, and this is not a future we want. It was very unpleasant. I mean, I think I had pre-life PTSD from post-traumatic stress disorder from an alternate life because of this.
And I don't doubt it. We carry that karmic stuff over. We carry that stuff over here. It's not like it's too far-fetched, David. We know us old souls have been here for a while, and that's definitely not the timeline we want. But to be honest, like, if that's a timeline humanity creates, well, you know what? That's a poor ending for a good, B movie at its best, Spaceship Earth here. We could really do a lot, but if people really just want to give up and wipe their hands and believe all this crap, whatever. I know where I'm going. I know you know where you're going. You know what I'm saying? I've been on the other side. I don't need to continue to play this game. If people want to continue to be like a bunch of idiots and like be sheeple, then you know what? That's on them. And if they're gonna blow each other up, I'm gonna laugh. Well, this is just like we're doing now, because it's out of control.
You and I, we saw that. I saw this outcome with you. We did this outcome. You were a bit of a hero, even though it was a massacre, an absolute massacre. There was no one left. But nonetheless, I'm not here to play out that game with you again. We won't win this through conventional warfare. It's not possible. There's another way of doing this, and
that's what they want.
They do. They want you to engage them with bullets, and that's not going to do it. I know this. We've tried that. We tried fighting with guns and bullets, and it didn't work. And it's not going to this time.
That's right. And this is why we need to raise the awareness of this, David, so people and others can take part in raising the consciousness of humanity.
Yes.
So we can help humanity lift its awareness to a higher state of awareness where they don't want to kill each other and fight with each other. The issue is the issue is, and I did a whole show on this a few weeks ago, was, there's all these totally radical Islamic Muslims. There's radical Mormons. There's radical Christians. There's radical Jews. I mean, there's radical everything. But one of the biggest populations of radicalness is, from what I see, definitely in the Muslim community, where it's just getting out of control with so many different factions. So, with Sharia law taking place all over the place, and a lot of Muslims want that. They believe that. They're being trained from an early age. When you're being taught your whole life to just believe, 70 virgins are waiting for you if you blow yourself up, it's just dumb stuff
Simple.
like that. You're just totally brainwashed, and there's a lot of that going on. So I asked the spiritual community, how do you help those people that have been totally programmed like that? How do you get to them? How do you reach the hundreds of millions of Muslims that want the destruction of everything except for Allah and an Islamic State throughout the world? This is not the first time they've done this in history. They've done this a couple times where they've tried to take over literally the entire world. And if you go back and do your history, you'll see some of the maps of how far they've gone. They actually got into China, into Asia before, all the way down to like Greece through there. The Muslims had a big stronghold. They've taken over Jerusalem a few times. So have the Christians, so have the Jews. They've been battling there for a long time. So this is not a new war. It's a very old war, and it's the ideology that, how do we conquer that? To me, the only answer is to raise the consciousness high enough and hit the 100th monkey effect, where everyone just has this quantum leap of consciousness, and people can't even pull the trigger to a gun because consciously they understand that that's another human and they don't want to do that. That's the only way I could see us stopping ideology. What's your take on that, David? How would you stop this radical ideology that's sweeping across? I mean, look at Eurasia right now, like Europe, being infiltrated by millions of Muslims from Sudan. They're not all Syrian refugees. If you watch the videos, I sent you a video a few weeks ago, you saw those aren't, refugees with families. Those are 90% males, young males coming in. They're raping women. They're trashing the streets. They're trying to deport them back. The countries aren't taking them back. It's out of control. It's only a matter of time. It's totally spinning out of control.
Hey, look, I'm for protective use of force. If you're about to be raped or killed, or somebody's about to have serious bodily injury in the moment, then you protect yourself. Period. But the solution, the positive solution, is not in the weapons. Anyhow, we know that, and most of the people in our network that we work with, the guests that we have on our show, generally take the same stance that you do and I do on that. I mean, Lana and I, we call it the Super Consciousness Project. It's just what you just mentioned. It's that 10% or whatever, just in pushing consciousness out into the world and awakening, the great awakening, the mass awakening of the global consciousness, of the planetary consciousness, of the collective consciousness, just rising up and saying no, just speaking no, and standing your ground, and not accepting this, and saying no more, and just changing from within, and just really, I don't know that love conquers all, but nonetheless, I think that if we certainly just woke up to the truth and just really took responsibility for ourselves, we could turn this around. Any of this can be turned around. The global economy, global militarization, climate change, it can all be corrected. Even climate change to some extent, I'm sure, through self-sustainable living and free energy and whatnot. We can bring those things out. We can do this. You and I are working on that gold-backed currency system. We can do alternative currencies. There's so many solutions that people already have. The technologies are there. You have it. We can implement these things. We can put these solutions to work if we want to do it. If we want to unite, if we want to work together, if we want to do it, we can do it. Otherwise, that alternate future that I saw may come to life for us once again. I hope not. I didn't particularly enjoy it, but
here's another. I just pulled up while you're talking here another article, picture that was put up about the San Bernardino thing, and one of the police that's been all over the news that they're interviewing. If you look at his hat, and one of the reporters pointed this out, the hat of the police officer, the emblem is a Mason sign. and he's the one of the reporting officers from the crime scene that we're talking to and stuff. It's just unbelievable if you really. Oh, here's another picture of him. If you really look into this, this was at 12:19 p.m. As it was reporting, reporter shooter walked into conference room, and you look at the police officer on the scene that's talking to reporters, and he's got a nice Mason, symbol on his hat. I mean, it doesn't get more obvious than that. But again, if you turn the news, you're not going to see any investigation into this. You're just going to see the story being pushed to its own agenda. It's a husband and wife. They're the ones who killed everybody. They're the ones who trained. They shot it, and it's just off and running. So, again, do your due diligence. We're talking about these things to bring awareness to them and give you another perspective, because what you're getting here in the U.S. is definitely one-sided. It is not anything short of actual true investigation. These reporters are being told to do what they're supposed to do. So back to Turkey now with Iraq sending troops in. They basically have till today to pull out their troops. Iraq the Prime Minister has asked Russia to step in if Turkey does not pull out its troops. Now, Russia and Turkey have been in many battles before. I learned more about that last night. You can Google that, see how many times Russia and actual Turkey have been in battle. And it's quite a few times. And it's not a good thing. So No. That's history. They've been battling for a long time as well. This is not some new thing that they're doing or not doing. Again, this is something that's been going on for a long time and is now escalating to the point where we have nuclear weapons now. And Russia's got nukes, so we don't want to go there.
Mass destruction. We're being held hostage by these nuclear weapons, and they have so many weapons, even their conventional weapons. There are so many. People in America have small arms. They have handguns, shotguns, rifles. That's not going to stop a professional military with machine guns and bombs of all sorts and helicopters and tanks and warships and professional special ops soldiers. I mean, I know that, these kind of wars have been fought throughout history many times. The militias have won and whatnot. But you don't win because people die, and they die by the thousands, especially in a situation like this, especially in modern times where things are so integrated and it's so easy to knock down telecommunication systems and power grids as they did in that alternate life and create civil unrest and really this is modern times is very different for a conventional war like the one we had in World War II. This is a very different situation, and it's much more.
And not just nuclear, but some of the new weapons they have are out of control too. They got like plasma bombs and hydrogen bombs, and like they got stuff we haven't even heard of or don't know anything about.
Thermobaric warheads and cluster bombs and chemical weapons of all sorts and things we couldn't even imagine. All kinds of technology and drones and things they're developing that are just unbelievable. Things that I don't even know where this technology came from in the past year. It's almost like science fiction. It's almost like it just jumped in. This kind of advanced weaponry we're seeing. I'm not even sure where it came from so quickly. It's almost like I'm seeing things that shouldn't even exist, but nonetheless, here we are. So get ready for the end game, I guess.
I know it's really a delicate line happening. And listen, I've been awakened 6-7 years now into the spiritual community, and I've done ceremonies and done this and went down to Chichen Itza for the end of the Mayan calendar, and I've experienced a lot. I've been inside portals, I've jumped timelines, I've been on other planets, I've been all over this universe, and let me tell you, it's even with all the experience, it just the rabbit hole goes down and down, and however it's going to end, I know what's on the other side. We're just trying to raise the awareness high enough so people as well can wake up and help us, shift the awareness of this so we don't do that timeline and get bombed out. And
we don't want to have a tragic ending. We don't need a tragic ending. I mean, we're here. We're in the here and now. We're in the present moment. Let's make the best of it and live the most peaceful, happiest life we can while we are alive now, and leave it for our children so that they can have a happy life as well. We don't need to go nuclear here. I don't think that's a positive ending. And then the other thing is, when you start mentioning the spirit plane, that's the other aspect to this that we need to keep in mind. Even when we talk about Illuminati and the elite, and I know these things, that's only the human aspect of it. We need to realize that there are all kinds of beings around us, dark entities, and we're getting attacked all the time, and they're orchestrating a lot of this, and there are even bigger, higher dark consciousnesses out there, even beyond the reptilians and other greys and species and things like that. So we need to be aware of that and protect ourselves against that, and understand that this is as above, so below. What's happening here is also happening on the spirit plane. It's a spiritual warfare, and actually that's really where it needs to be stopped, right at its source. And we're being influenced by that, but we are sovereign beings. So we need to understand that our minds are sacred, and our bodies are sacred, and our soul is sacred, and we have control over that. And so we need to be aware of these influences that are coming into our minds and protect ourselves against those things. Because I've been attacked, you've been attacked recently. Really important to be aware that these things are out there. Sasha Stone calls them invisible overlords, whatever you want to call them, Anunnaki. I don't know, even maybe even bigger dark forces than that, I think, that I've seen. So
yeah, I'm gonna post some more stuff up here on Syria and Russia, and also on the San Bernardino information. I mean, even there's information, if you look at some of the people they pulled from Sandy Hook, Boston, Paris, even Aurora. They're some of the same people that the police are escorting out of the quote unquote crime scene, meaning that they're calling them crisis actors. So if you look at 4 of the scenes and video, there's actually the same exact people with Boston, Sandy Hook, Aurora, and in Paris all at the same time. I mean, come on, it's impossible of that to happen like that. So people really need to just do their due diligence, be open, and look into this stuff. As crazy as it might sound, check it out. Because once you dive in, do your own
the game of life.
That's it. You're gonna see how inconsistent so many things are, and
it's easy. It's easy to do, and I know this. I've actually done it. I mean, being a private investigator, you learn these techniques, disinformation, creating problems as a diversion to confuse people and actually exacerbate the problems just to make things more difficult for people. That's actually what litigation is, and that's what lawyers do. They create obstacles and keep things going so it's so expensive, and you're so distracted by paperwork and hearings and emails and letters and phone calls, and that you're bombarded, and you actually get forced into settling because you can't sustain the game. You can't stay in the game. They wear you down, and law enforcement can do that too, and they can lead you in all. They can lead you in all kinds of different directions and dead ends, and confuse you to death. Confusion is part of the game, and distraction is part of the game. That's
it. It's an information war, as Alex Jones says. It's an info war, and we just want people to be aware and to do their own due diligence and check this stuff out like we do. Like I got sucked into it too. I was watching it unfold on CNN, Fox, and next thing you know, I'm like, oh my God. And then as I look into the alternative media outlets, I see some of the real stuff that's being reported, and the inconsistencies that arise that none of the mainstream outlets are reporting. They're definitely not talking about how crazy the situation is in Syria, how delicate it is, what's really going on there, because if that escalates, it's going to be really bad for everybody. We're so delicate right now, the U.S. economy. I mean, I'm planning to be out of here in 2 weeks and going back to Costa Rica, because I don't want to be in the U.S. when things go down. That's for sure. I don't want to. I want to be in the jungle where I can take care of my family and my friends and grow food and be sustainable and not have to worry about the craziness. And at least I could say, hey, David, I did my best to warn and tell everyone the best I can. We did our best. What else could we have done? And that's what we're doing here, just doing our best to report what we feel people should be aware of. That's it.
That's where I'm at. And part of me is because I've been through this so many times throughout my
Excellent. We're out of time. David Love, thank you for joining us on the show. Open up your third eye and your mind and check the information out. David Love. the world we're going to talk about. We're going to be joined by our guest, who is all the way in Australia, Mr. David Love, who also has his own radio show, Universal Soul Love, with Dr. Lana Love. So he'll be joining us in just a minute. With that, first, give a shout out to starseedradio.com, where you can always find the latest news and updates. We're always posting up new articles up there. We have a couple Twitter feeds and some other things up there, space weather, things like that, to stay alert on what's happening in your world today. Also, check out starseedtechnologies.com. That's another site of ours where we have some amazing new technologies in water recycling, power, off-grid, tons of stuff on there. And if you want some free energy information, fill out the form on the left-hand side, and we'll send you about 15 PDF files of free energy information. As well, if you haven't received your free piece of Elite Shungite, we're still sending Shungite out. Contact us at toll-free 888-400-2328. Again, that number is 888-400-2328. You can call anytime, 24/7. Leave us a voicemail if someone does not get back to you. With that, we're going to get the show started with our daily quote. Before I do that, that's right, I got one more website to give out. Check out Starseed Gold. This is an amazing new, not just a gold saving exchange system, but what this company is doing is really breaking the psyche of what most of us have been programmed. How are you today?
Hi, Jonah. How are you?
I'm doing good. You probably had it on mute, right?
I did, yeah. Just jumping right in. I was checking up on the news and a couple of news items you sent me, and just familiarizing myself with what's going on. I've been really busy lately with so many things, but you just caught me at the right moment, just preparing for tomorrow's show on Universal Soul Love. So always happy to come on your show. You have a great show. One of the first I was on with internet radio, so with you on years ago. So I'm always happy to be your special guest, and had you on our show a couple times too. So.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on again.
Sure. That's the best way is to collaborate with each other and speak to each other and share information, because it is a really information war. Alex Jones says that best. It's an info war, and it really is. When people really get down to it, there's a lot of stories happening. There's a lot of stuff going on, but depending on what outlet and who you're getting your news from depends on how they spin the story. And we see that with the buildup in Russia and Turkey, and how U.S. news outlets are reporting it, how different news outlets are reporting, always sort of spinning the story depending on where you get your news sources from. So one of the big main stories that's here in the U.S. is this big terrorist attack, is what they're calling it, down in California. I believe they killed 14 people, wounded 17. I heard 21. Somewhere around that, and you see how quickly the U.S. and all the media outlets are just focusing on that now without really investigating too much. Now, Obama himself was on the Oval Office on the TV doing a live conference on Sunday, and already within a week you see how quickly they move with having the shooters and having this, having that, and then Obama's on and just pushing the agenda very, very quickly. When you really look at the evidence and a lot of the eyewitnesses, you have a ton of discrepancies. Now, I posted 9 articles up last night. There are literally dozens and dozens of different alternative media news outlets that are reporting all the different inconsistencies with this story, and there are many. All the main eyewitnesses, if you really actually look, all reported 3 white males of all athletic build that were the shooters, and this came from multiple eyewitnesses, not just 1 or 2, multiple. I posted up 5 of them myself on articles on my Facebook and Twitter feed, so check that. This guy's wife, who they're blaming for the terrorist attack, was 90 pounds, definitely not athletic build or a white male. There's lots of inconsistencies. Even the assault rifles they recovered were traced back to law enforcement. Within 48 hours, I was watching this live on TV with my stepfather. They had the news going through their house, their apartment. I don't know.
Broadcasting live from the mothership, you are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host, Jonah Bolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, what's up, Spaceship Earth? Thanks for tuning in. You are now receiving a live transmission from Starseed Radio, where you could always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Today is Tuesday, December 8th, 2015. I am your host, Jonah Bolt, the Octorian Starseed. It is another cloudy, rainy day here in South Florida. And I think it's been that way since I got back from the beautiful Virgin Islands. It was a little cloudy there, but we did get some sunny days. So a shout out to the big Virgin Islands and, of course, me, Dad, hanging out on St. John. With that, we're going to get the show started. Lots of news and stuff to cover. Last week was insane with the news and what has been happening all around the world. We're going to go into several different big stories. We're going to talk about the California shooting spree. We're going to talk about Turkey and Russia and a few other main articles and in interesting news, I should say, to the least, that's happening around with, which is fiat currency and getting us back onto a gold exchange and bartering system. Check out starseedgold.com. You can sign up for a free gold savings account or contact me directly. My information is right there on the homepage. Again, that's starseedgold.com. You could start saving in gold today or become an affiliate and also spread the gold. 99.99 bullion pure gold, the purest gold on the planet, all the way from the supernovas. If you did not know, gold comes from the stars. That's right. Gold actually showered the planet and has showered the planet over the billions of years. Gold actually comes from exploding supernovas. So a fun fact for you for today, if you did not know that. With that, we're going to mention our daily quote. Again, that website is starseedgold.com. If you think I'm a smartass, you should meet my spirit guides. I like that quote. I'll post that one up. That one quote is by, looks like an anonymous quote. I can't see who the signature is, but if you think I'm a smartass, you should meet my spirit guides. I'll post that quote up on starseedradio.com. With that, we're going to get started with the show and giving you some of the latest news and updates, and joined by our guest all the way in down under Australia. We'll welcome David to the show. David, how are you?